Good evening, Dave Baldwin here, Baldwin Systems LLC, and I am a business strategist for those of you who have not met me or known me for very long. And I work with the small but mighty businesses, as they like to call themselves, and as the term has become more popular, the type of businesses that typically have a team of 2 to 10 people, privately held, and usually service based for the most part. I have worked with some product based companies, but for the majority of small businesses that are starting up, I have found that the easier way to make money is by selling a service. And one of the things I want to talk to you today is about something I have observed. It's not spoken about, but it's a factual reality, and it's called the productivity penalty. And this is a problem that happens in every size of business, regardless of whether it's 2 people or 200,000 people and how long they've been in business. It's something I really find kind of curious that more people haven't caught on to. And I'll tell you a story to exemplify it. I remember my first job after my first job in high school was at Wendy's flipping burgers, and I'll definitely talk more about that in the future because there's a lot of lessons I learned there. But my first job after I left Wendy's, I worked at an electronics plant as an assembler, and we basically just sat there and stuffed boards. They called us board stuffers. We took little capacitors, resistors, and all that kind of stuff, and you put it into the holes on circuit boards. You taped them in place. Sometimes you soldered things by hand, but a lot of times it went through. It was called a wave soldering machine. But in any case, what I did all day was you sat there. There was a stack of these blank, empty boards, and you just take them, put them on a machine, and it would move it around, and you would put the components into the board and assemble it by hand. And there was a time when I started figuring out how to get some of it done a little bit faster. Like I just, not drastically, but I started figuring out how I could just be a little bit more efficient. And one of my coworkers came over to me. It wasn't really like a super hostile type of a workplace, but it was pretty run of the mill, pretty typical what you'd expect in that type of environment where people are working on an assembly line. And somebody came over to me and said, "Hey, you haven't really figured out how this works yet, have you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, you don't want to go so fast, because if we burn through all this work, then they don't have any reason to pay us to come in and work overtime on Saturday. And we want to slow down a little bit. You want to leave some work, so that way we all get paid overtime." And I started saying, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." And I remember somebody else chimed in the conversation and said, "Well, if we don't get any overtime, we burn through all this, and you screw me out of my overtime on Saturday, are you going to pay my light bill?" And I was like, wow, that's it. And I thought that this was just kind of, I mean, I could get it to a degree. I understood that that's the way a lot of people think. But from what I found over the years, ever since then, this was 1998, 1999, that time frame, I found that to be the norm. I found the mentality that develops as a result of this misalignment of incentives, that you are effectively penalizing your employees if they find more efficient ways to do things, and they are proactive in doing their jobs. There is an economic monetary penalty of money that comes out of their paycheck for that. One of the issues that I've always had with paying a straight hourly wage or paying a salary, either way, it's the same basic problem, is that the more productive somebody is, the less they make per yield per hour of their time. And the astute employees have long since figured that out. The lazy ones and the lazy and savvy employees figure out how to game the system. They figure out how to make it look like they're busy so that they don't get any more work piled on them, because they don't have any incentive to do any more work. They actually have a disincentive for being efficient. So one of the things that I always ask and I always bring up when I first start to meet with employers, and we talk about some of the different things, and we talk about what it looks like to create a culture of shared ownership, is, would you be open to the possibility of creating some kind of an incentive plan so that people, if the company has a good month, everybody has a good month? From what I have seen, the limited amounts of that I've seen, that definitely changes the whole dynamic. When everybody's pay is in alignment with the best interest of the companies, it creates a whole different type of a dynamic where people get more engaged, they get on board, and their motivation changes in a very good way. It really surprises me that more small businesses aren't doing this, because I really think that it's, the misalignment of incentives. When you penalize somebody for doing a good job, it creates strife, it creates tension between employees, it creates tension between the owner and the employees, it creates mistrust, and it really shuts down collaboration. It's something that's relatively simple to put in place. I think that one of the major hurdles that can stand in the way is if a company doesn't have a good accounting system and doesn't have the ability to gauge accurately where the time is going and where the cost is going. But those can be fixed. Those problems can be fixed by just having the right disciplines and structures in place. Pay is obviously not everything. Money's not everything. People are not just purely motivated by pay. And here goes my alarm right there. One of the things I've just got to learn about doing these live videos. Thought I had my phone silenced. Anyhow, pay is not the only factor. There's a couple of other things. There's 3 factors I've identified that specifically relate to creating this culture of ownership. There's pay. There is, here's my way of remembering it. There's a pay, a say, and a way. So they got to have the pay has to be aligned. People have to feel like they have a say, and there has to be a way for people to meet their career goals inside the structure of the company. And all 3 of these areas I see consistently being neglected in every kind of business you can imagine, from the smallest to the largest. And the great unfortunate side of it is that there's just so many ways to put simple structures in place to solve all 3 of those problems. And I really love working with companies that want to roll up their sleeves and build those types of structures so that they have the ability to scale and ability to grow and build a thriving team. That's all I got for right now. That's you can check me out on it's dave-baldwin.com is my website, and there will be more of these videos forthcoming very soon. Take care. I'll see you next time.